everybody, Eagle Run 23 here. I got to test out something really cool. But first, this video is sponsored by Proton Mail. More about them at the end of the video. There it is. We are talking massive optics today. Check out the Telson. This is the Target Master from Telson. It's a 5 to 25, lots of zoom, lots of cool features that we're going to dig into. Here it is on Project LRG. It stands for Long Range Grendel. This is a 80% gun. The full build list for this is down below. One of my really nice Grendel projects, you guys know I really like Grendel, was planning on doing lots of things with Grendel the last couple of years, and the 8.6 blackout got us a little bit derailed. But we have two Grendels, we're gonna do some stuff with them, but I wanted a special gun to go on a project like this, and this gun has always been really special. It came together, I think it looks really good. It's got an Odin Works barrel, Odin Works matched bolt, and bolt carrier group. Of course, the Timney trigger, 80% arms on the lower receiver. The handguard and the upper are both from AT3 Tactical. It's got anti-rotation, really cool color combination. I like a lot about this gun. So I wanted to put this optic on a gun that I knew was a good shooter, and I wouldn't gonna have to worry about whether or not the gun, sometimes our projects don't always work out the way we want them to, but this one was special, and so that's why I chose this gun to test out the optic. Now, first things first, who is Telson and why are they coming out with a new optic in what many would consider a crowded market? I would consider the optics to be pretty crowded. Seems like every day I come across a company that I haven't heard of or don't have any experience with. And in the last couple of years, I've been able to gain quite a bit of experience and shoot some really nice optics. Before it was limited, just based on the budget that I was spending on the guns. Now, thankfully, with the YouTube channel, I have a little bit more money to put into our projects. And as a result, I've got to play with some really nice optics. So I definitely know what I like, and I definitely know what I don't like. There's been some stuff come in that I haven't really enjoyed. There's been some stuff that's like, okay, that's okay for this project, because not every single gun needs the nicest optic. You don't have to spend $2 or $3 grand on every single optic. You don't even have to spend $1,000 on every optic for every gun. It just kind of depends on what that project requires. This Telson brand, which a Telson is actually the stinger on the end of a scorpion. I didn't know that. So they're coming out with a new scope. It's being unveiled actually today, the day that you're watching this video. It's going to be available for a pre-order. Of course, at SHOT Show, they're going to be showing off this new optic, getting the dealer network set up, all those good things, all the things that a company's got to do to get their name out there. And one of those things is putting some optics in the hands of some YouTubers. Now for me, I have the ability to pretty quickly get a scope mounted up on a gun like we did here. I own some property, so I can go hog hunting, I can shoot long range, I have steel targets out to 600 on my property. Pretty easy for me to go do that, and so I was happy that they chose me because there's not very many of these in existence until the pre-order starts coming out. So this optic right here, I actually need to send back. By the time you're watching this video, this thing will already be headed out back home and it will be on display at SHOT Show. So my expectations were pretty high because, again, you're coming into a market that's a little bit crowded and you need to do some things a little bit different. And I think they did a pretty good job. We'll go over some of the things I like, a couple things I didn't like, and we'll go over the specs and features of this. We also will be taking it apart, taking the mount off, putting it back in the box so it can be shipped up, and I'll show you what comes in the box and things like that. Now, things that are important to you could vary from things that are important to me for a scope. I'm a big value guy. I like to get value. I like for my money to go a long ways. And it seems like every year, more and more scope companies are offering more and more things in that standard range. And it used to be that you'd have to spend a whole lot more to get some of the features on a scope like this. Things like a zero stop and illuminated reticle. This one even has shake awake, which I don't think I have any other scopes in this price range that have shake awake. Pretty cool, because it's a major bummer to think your gun's good to go and realize you left the illumination on from your last hunt. The fit, the finish, the form, the function, you can tell that this thing was put together with some intentionality. And again, there's nothing absolutely groundbreaking here, but there's just some little details that are really cool and I appreciate. Of course, we talked about the Shake Awake. By the way, all the controls are very intuitive and they have very positive, good clicks on everything. Everything moves and adjusts just like it should. There is a throw lever on here, but you don't even really need it because the knurling on here is really great. Designed to work with gloves or without gloves and just have a positive connection there. Nothing is too hard to turn. Everything moves just like it should. The fit and finish on this thing is phenomenal. It does come with this sunshade, and I shot it with and without the sunshade. The day that I was shooting, a little bit overcast, we had some sun peeking through the clouds. Didn't seem to make a difference for me. I do like the look of it when it's a little bit bigger, but nothing wrong with it without the sunshade. That's probably how I would run it most of the time. This optic was designed by actual PRS shooters. So you can tell that its workflow and its function is all very streamlined. The reticle is really great. One critique I have on the reticle is it's pretty fine. In low light, without the illuminated reticle, it would be tough to see your crosshairs because they're very fine, but it's a first focal plane. They call the reticle an FAR2. It's a fast acquisition type reticle. Definitely a PRS style. And when we were ringing steel 300, 400, 500, 600 yards, the reticle was no problem to see, especially on my white painted steel targets. Had those been painted black, some of them could have been seen to see just because that crosshair is really fine. But in a way, that's what you want in a PRS gun. The illuminated reticle is really good. In fact, in some low light conditions, I actually took the Target Master, which is not a hunting scope. This thing is too big and too heavy for a hunting scope. But I did take it hog hunting on this actual gun. This gun is not a hunting gun either. It is a 20-inch barrel. And in my deer blind, I clanged this thing around everywhere. I'm used to my Q-Fix, which is very small and compact, even with a suppressor. Even with a suppressor, it's much smaller than this. And I clanged this thing around all over. But I did take 2 hogs in low light. And thanks to that illuminated reticle, there's lots of settings over here. And I do like that it goes on, off as it goes around. So as you increase, there is an off position. You don't have to go all the way back around in order to turn the thing off. Or you can just set it and forget it because Shake Awake has got your back. A scope like this at this price point would have to have a 0-stop. And it does have a 0-stop. It even has a little pop-up here indicator to let you know how many times you are around. You can see the little red pops up and lets you know that you're 1 revolution around or a little bit higher for 2 revolutions around. In order to set the 0-stop, very easy, unscrew it on the top, twist the inside to get it to where you want it, pop it back on, and then it will stop at that point each time. Inside the box, there is a QR code for the instruction manual for this. It wasn't ready. It's not done at the time that I was playing with this. And so had to figure out how the 0-stop worked on my own. You can definitely figure out how it works on your own. It's not too difficult, very intuitive, and it makes sense when you think about it. All right, some of the specs: big 56 millimeter down there on the end, the objective. The tube is 34 millimeters. Which is a little bit tricky. 34 is becoming more popular. Most of us have 30 millimeter mounts, maybe in 1 inch, depending on what you got. But I had a set of Vortex rings that I tried to mount up on here, and they were just too low. Had to hop on Amazon and pick up a UTG Pro mount. This mount is not of, I mean, it's worked fine for me, so I can't say anything bad about it, but I did feel bad putting a cheap mount on a very nice scope. So it was available on Amazon next day delivery. And given the time crunch that we had and the opportunity that I had to get out to the property, I had to go with that option. But should we end up with another one of these down the road, I'll get a nicer scope mount. When you check these guys out, it's possible they'll have some mounts listed on their website and stuff that will go directly. You can get them all in at the same time. 5 to 25 zoom, plenty of power to do whatever. I found myself really comfortable in that 18 to 20 range, but it was nice to be able to pull it all the way up. Everything tracked absolutely perfectly. We were going off of a dope chart that I used with another scope, and everything was perfectly in line with that. It was the exact same adjustments to hit my different steel targets all the way up. You have 32 mil of internal adjusting, and for a Grendel at 1,000 yards, it's less than 20 mils of adjustment. So This could shoot a Grendel a whole lot further before I ran out of room. Even like a 6.5 Creedmoor, it's going to be under 20 mils of elevation out to 1,000 yards. So this guy's capable of most of your calibers having plenty mil of elevation. Of course, if you're shooting further, it's possible you could run out at some point, but they always make 20 MOA bases. And for the stuff that I've done, and for probably what most of us do, you won't run out of elevation. Again, I really like this knurling on here. It's a really cool look, kind of stands out. It's copied over onto the top turret and the windage and the elevation. It's copied up there and it feels great. It's not too sharp, but it does have a little bit of bite to it. Parallax here on the inside adjusts just like you think, and the illuminated reticle out here on the end, so you have two adjustments right there. So I'm gonna get this taken off. A bit of a sad moment to have to send this back. I did enjoy it. They also have another scope that I'm really interested in that's called a Telson. It would be the right scope for a hunting application, although this optic on this gun would have been fine because we like to do a little bit of bench rest, long range stuff with this Grendel. It would also be great on a 6.5 Creedmoor, definitely like a chassis gun, things like that. If we get one of these in later, we could play with it on some other stuff. Also, if we get to play with a Telson someday, that would be really cool on some of our 8.6 Blackouts, some of our other stuff like that that's a little bit more compact and a little bit lighter. I did show off this mount in a couple of shorts, and I had a guy say, hey, watch out for that UTG mount. He apparently snapped a bolt off and had to drill the thing out. I didn't want to have to do that on a scope that I have to send back, so everything worked out fine. All right, let's go over what comes in the box. Nice big box here for a nice big scope. It does come with scope rings that flip up for both ends of the gun. I did not use those. Also comes with a cleaning cloth. This is probably the largest one that I've ever seen, but nice to have a cleaning cloth. And everything's packaged up in there very nicely. You also have your instructions with your QR code. All right, there we go. Got it all back in the box. We'll put the cleaning cloth back on top. Hopefully, I will get to see this thing in Las Vegas. The last thing that we didn't go over is the clarity and the glass quality. We have Japanese glass with all of the coatings on it. It's got the ED coatings, takes care of the chromatic aberration. That's definitely something that if your scope doesn't have it, you will definitely know. Clear edge to edge, nice sight picture. I definitely used the top half of the reticle a couple times to spot. My daughter was with me shooting 22, and I could easily find her little 22 holes in our target and zoom in on them and help her get dialed in for what she was doing. So a good quality glass, it's very important. It's expensive, you do have to pay for it. There are a couple of places in the market where you get a little bit more glass and a little bit less money, but essentially everything costs something. So if you start adding in these extra features, obviously the cost is going to go higher. There's a couple of places in a lower price point than this where you do have some good glass, but you lose some of the other features. And then there's obviously, you can go up from here where you're going to end up with good quality glass and all of the features. I feel like this is a really nice spot. They do have a scope that is one higher than this, and they do have, of course, the smaller, the Telson, that is the smaller one for hunting. There's also another scope that is below the Telson, so looks like they've got a good lineup in order to hit most people's budgets and, more importantly, most people's needs. So final thoughts on this. I really enjoyed shooting it. I did have a little bit of trouble with the eye box, especially at some of the higher magnification. When I was above that 18 to 20 range, you definitely have to be perfect behind the scope. That's true with a lot of scopes, so not really a problem. Of course, we talked about the crosshairs. Maybe as I'm getting older, I'm losing some vision. Let's not talk about that. But with the finer crosshairs, you're obviously able to be really precise. If you haven't come across that issue before, go shoot a cheap scope with a giant Sharpie marker up and down on there. And when you zoom in on your target, you won't even be able to see the target because the crosshairs are so fat. Intentionality is key for this, and there's a lot of little details that make this scope really nice. So would I recommend you buy it? Is it something that I would buy? It is a good quality scope, and good quality scopes are not cheap. Most of the people, it seems like whenever I get a really nice tracked optic or something that's, I've got a really nice vortex, some of those scopes, I have some people in the comments say, let's stick with the budget stuff. We're not interested in the higher end things. And then you'll show off a scope that's an Arcan or something on the lower end, and people say, oh, those things are trash. So it's difficult sometimes for me to gauge exactly what my audience is interested in. And that's the cool thing about this, is there's lots of options for you at different budget points and different features. So on a gun like this Grendel, or something that you're trying to do some stuff with, maybe shoot a little bit longer, try to be a little more precise, it is a perfect scope for a job like that. If you're getting into PRS shooting and you want something that's gonna let you grow a little bit with it, again, a nice choice for that. It is certainly not a cheap scope that you're going to be frustrated with after you increase your skill a little bit. As we say, if you're jumping out of helicopters with a $5,000 rifle, you may want something a little bit higher end. But for the average guy who's looking for a nice scope with a good value point, that's where I think this shines. All right, so I enjoyed putting this project together. Hope you guys enjoyed it too. Make sure to leave me a thumbs up. If you want to see more of our reviews, typically on the channel, we build guns, talking about parts and all sorts of stuff like that. Lots of scopes and thermals. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you on board. Thanks again to Telson for letting me play with this. I think you guys have a pretty good scope here, and I was excited to test it out. If you want to be horrified, go read the terms and conditions over on your Gmail account. You'll see that they make no apologies for your data and the fact that it is not secure. They're definitely snooping through there, seeing what you're emailing about, so they can offer you ads. Your data should not be on the market like that. And if you want to do something about it, you need to take your privacy and your data very seriously. And long before they sponsored our YouTube channel, Proton Mail was what I chose for 100% encrypted, safe, secure email. EagleRun23@protonmail.com. I've had that email address for 5 or 6 years now, and it is the email that I depend on. I love the email part of it, how it works, very easy to use. I also use Proton Mail's VPN. Anytime I'm on the web, try to have a VPN turned on at my desk. I also have the mobile version on my phone. Privacy and security, if they're important to you, you should check out a Proton Mail, and you should quit using Gmail specifically. I have a link for you where you can get a free Proton Mail account. It doesn't have a ton of storage in it, but it is a free Proton Mail account. You can sign up there. They have packages that include VPNs, all sorts of stuff. I even use their calendar feature as well. Very intuitive and easy to use. It's not expensive at all. Thanks Proton Mail for sponsoring this video. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. If you have some favorite things about some scopes that you like or don't like, make sure to leave those down below, and we'll discuss. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.